Hi, thanks for joining today's training. We're going to be talking about converting and nurturing waterproofing leads. It's a really important topic. I'm going to share with you some things that you could do that can have a tremendous impact, but doesn't take that much effort and almost no money at all whatsoever. So specifically, some of the things we're going to be talking about are the importance of conversions from your website, an optimized website, and what that looks like. I'm going to cover 13 critical factors that will improve conversions. Because let's face it, we're not interested in website visitors or how long they hang out on your website. We need leads, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to help you identify like who you're really after and to be able to speak to them more effectively. So, in light of that, I'm going to move fast. I'm going to share some really important concepts. I know we like to multitask. If there's a way you could just tone down your distractions, if I can grab your attention, I'll get right to the point. And I want to bring you your really good value here. Quick background on me. I own this company. We specialize in servicing basement waterproofing and foundation repair contractors. We've been doing this. Our team has been doing this for like 14, 15 years. Before that, I owned a waterproofing company for 15 years. So as you can imagine, I'm really familiar with this industry. My agency has won awards from Google. I wrote a book on digital marketing for basement waterproofing and foundation repair folks. I've been on the board for Basement Health Association, and we do have a podcast as well. I also happen to be a coach in internet marketing, and I coach between 25 and 30 digital marketing companies. All right, let's talk about what happens when someone comes to a website that converts well. What happens is we get increased lead generation, we get improved sales performance because reps are seeing more leads, and maybe they're seeing leads that are more interested and engaging because we have more credibility. Your marketing efforts and your return on investment for advertising dollars is better. I know that's a really important factor for owners. And then you have a stronger like brand presence and there's more trust, and it gives you all that stuff gives you a competitive edge. So let's identify the problem. With marketing, it can be challenging. It's so expensive. It's a big investment. You can't grow your company without spending money on marketing. You can live in that small world of like, oh, we get referrals and we kind of do some little, but if you want to, we all know if you want to grow your company, you have to be good at marketing, right? And rarely do I do hear it sometimes, rarely do I hear like, oh, we have so many leads, we don't want any more leads. Sometimes it happens when you get heavy rains, but when you don't have enough leads, like that's a problem. You might have invested some good time and energy and money into, training new sales reps, and you think like, cool, perfect timing. I've got these reps, now I need leads, let's rock and roll, right? Another problem is you're spending a lot of money, but you don't really know what's happening. That line of my marketing is working, half my marketing is working. The problem is I just don't know which half. When you get a low return on investment of your advertising dollars, it's painful. It's always hard to think. I'll give you an example, but it's always hard to think like, man, I'm spending so much money, I'm not getting a return. I used to, when I owned my waterproofing company, I would drop 9 to 10 million mailers per year in kind of like it wasn't a Clipper magazine, but it was something like that. I would do a half page, and that worked really well for me. After towards the end of when I canceled that, and that was probably in year 11 or 12, gosh, there was a couple months. I mean, it was costing me over 5,000 a month. There was a couple months where I got 1 or 2 leads in the entire month. And I was like, oh my gosh, like when I got 2 leads, I thought, okay, each of those leads, not sets, each of those leads cost me 2,500, like at least. And that was just like, this thing is killing me. Like I've got to, but I will say overall mailers, consistency time after time, it worked really well for me. When you don't have leads, you don't have sales, you don't have a backlog, and it's super stressful as an owner. And we owners take on that responsibility. And we're responsible for keeping people busy, keeping them employed, making sure there's money in the bank. So when payroll hits, everyone's paid, everyone's happy. It's absolutely critical. And that falls on us as owners. all this thing kind of starts with leads. Like you've got to have leads. So we've got to be doing everything we can to get as many leads as possible. You can't grow your business without leads, right? So initially, I want to start talking about just having a great website that's built to convert. And again, we don't want web visitors. And well, we do want web visitors, right? But if a digital marketing company comes to you to say like, hey, look at all the web visitors we have and look at all the time on site. We've improved the time on site from like a minute and 10 to a minute and 20. It's like, okay, dude, I need leads. Like that's how I think. Uh, so I want to talk about the factors that are involved. So consistently converting visitors to leads, like that's where it's at. And there's so many little things. They always say in digital marketing, there's not a lot of magic wands. There's just like thousands of little things you have to pay attention to. So leads equals sales equals backlog. And from there you have business growth and peace of mind. Be super rewarding. You get momentum and consistent growth with leads. But if you don't have leads, super challenging. What does success look like? It looks like the phone's ringing, you're booking leads, sales reps are running leads, they're selling, you're building your backlog. Maybe you're adding crews and your business is growing. That's what it's all about. That's what we're after. So I want you to really rethink about how important your website is and how people are judging you basically, by your website. And it's really the hub. It's like, it's the new storefront. Um, People aren't, this is not like, last century. They're not walking to your store. They are viewing everything online. So what you look like online really matters. Um, I want to take you through some math. Scenario one, scenario two. In scenario one, there's 1,500 visitors. That's, I'm going to say that's somewhat average. You could look at your Google Analytics and see how many visitors you get per month. So let's say a typical website out there in our space gets 1,500 visitors. And if they only convert 5, which I mean convert, I mean we turn it into a lead. I don't want to get into, a lead versus a demo and so on, but I'm just taking you through this math. Out of 1,500 visitors, if we convert 5 of those into leads, we'll end up with 75 leads. Now, let's say you pitch all 75 leads and your closing percentage is 25. You end up with 19 jobs, average job size 10,000. For that month, you're adding $190,000 worth of backlog into the production department. Scenario two, there's only one factor that I'm changing. You still have 1,500 visitors, but now we're working with a 9% conversion. And look how everything gets changed. Instead of 75 leads, we're at 135 leads. Closing percentage, still the same, 25%. Now we have 34 jobs sold, same average sale size, 10,000. But this month in scenario two, we're adding $340,000 worth of revenue into the production department. Ginormous difference. The only difference here is how many web visitors we're converting into a lead. So is your website built to convert, and how important is it to you? Let's look at this. Do you want an optimized website? Absolutely. After the math that I showed you, gosh, if you could just kind of make some changes and adjustments to your website, and even if you get like 1%, 2% conversion rate improvement, that's adding a whole bunch of revenue into the production department. So 13 critical elements to enhance conversion. Number one, speak to your target avatar. What are their fears and frustrations? I feel like I've been able to help owners over the years by taking them through this exercise. And I'll speak more a little bit about this, but when I first got into internet marketing, I went for the best in the business. And we're talking like 16 years ago. And there was one gentleman, he has a PhD. He was very well known in the industry, and his fees way back then were $450 an hour. And he took me through this exercise where he wanted me to close my eyes, put my fingers on the keyboard, And he wanted to have a conversation with me, and he started asking me all these questions like, okay, who's your typical customer? All right, you have that in your head? All right, male or female? Female. How old is she? 45. All right, great. She a mom? Yeah, she is. How many kids? Two kids. Okay. What what would motivate her to sit in front of a keyboard? That kind of conversation. What is she feeling? And what words would she be typing? When you can really understand who your avatar is. And I know in waterproofing, like, hey, here's our advertise, here's our avatar. They own a home and they have a leaky basement. But to be able to really speak into their world, you're going to be more effective. And that's a little exercise that I want to walk you through later on. Um, Thinking through the question, why should they choose you? Another, part of my exercise when I take owners through this is I say to them, hey, if you didn't know anything about basement waterproofing, you had a problem with your basement, who would you choose? Like, let's pull that up on the website. What would you type in? Well, maybe basement waterproofing or waterproofing contractor. Okay, let's do this. Let's say you don't know anything about basement waterproofing. You've already talked to some people, you don't know who to turn to. Who would you pick? It's like, I don't know. I guess I'd go off of reviews. Okay, let's look at some of the websites that you're picking. What do you like about them? What do you like about them? Try to think through those things, and that can be really helpful to think about your own website. Be real. Like, so much of the data out there as far as website conversions is people want authenticity. So don't be, the Wizard of Oz hiding behind a curtain. Like, really show them who you are. Um, Hey, I don't need to tell you that video is really hot, right? Like, when TikTok hit us a few years ago, our brains start changing, and then everyone else is like, "Oh, what's TikTok doing? Why are they taking so much of our web traffic?" And then we saw Instagram and Facebook and video shorts, and just about everybody is moving towards, short video. And so you lean into that and ask yourself, do you have short videos on your website that people can engage in process information? Because so many of us are used to now taking in information through video shorts, and it's a great way to allow people to connect with you and your company through video. Social proof. Do you have reviews on your website that people can say, oh, wow, these people are just like raving about your company? I mean, pretty rare if I come across a company that someone doesn't have at least a handful of reviews that are just like outstanding. 6, just like the real basics are sometimes missed. Phone number in the top right-hand corner, web form, credibility. Are there third-party uh, companies that can be trusted? Uh, Calls to action. Some people think like, oh, I don't need to tell them to like call us. All right, but if you do testing and all things are the same, and the only difference is there's a few more calls to action on the website, you're going to convert more people with more calls to action on the website. So these little things add up. Now there's people out there that they like coupons. They want to feel like they got a deal, or they're at least like working the angle. So put something out there, special offer. Mobile website conversions, click to call function. Make it easy for people to reach you. You want to remove any possible barrier, even if you think like, oh, that's dumb. That's only one extra click. Who cares? Eliminate the click. If there's a way to eliminate a click, do it. Just make it super easy for someone to come right to you to connect with you. Some people like live chat, like live chatted. I mean, it was like, what was it like 11 years ago or so, or 12 maybe, where um, it was identified that more texts were happening than emails. So we all know how common texting is. We probably text 50 times a day or 25 times a day. And that's kind of what live chat is. It's like, cool, I can kind of hide behind my phone at this stage. I don't want to talk to anyone. So let's do live chat. Um, More and more companies are allowing people to book appointments online. Um, that's something I mean, I see this as like, if you were to go out fishing, I know fishing can be really, really fun for some people. You have one pole, but if your goal is really like, I want to catch as many fish as possible, what if you brought like 5 poles? and you put different bait out and you put, you got to pull there, and there are different parts. Like who's going to catch more fish? The fisherman using 5 different poles or the fisherman using one pole? So my analogy is they could connect with you in live chat, they can book online, they can fill out a web form, they can make a phone call, and the barriers are minimal and it's very easy to access you. That kind of communication line is going to convert more web visitors into leads. Web speed really matters. Gosh, we live in a world where everything's fast, and we probably all have ADD. Like if you were to compare us to people like 50 years ago, like our brains are moving, we're fast, and so you need a fast loading website. We're going to talk about that, and engage in marketing automation. Technology is really inexpensive these days, and it actually works, the marketing automation stuff. And there's ways to use marketing automation to improve your funnels, to get in touch with people, and to communicate with people. So let me show you a couple examples of just some things that I think are helpful. Like here's an example of a web form. Now notice on this screenshot here, the web form is kind of the first thing, is because we read from left to right. It's the first thing that someone sees. We're here to help, free inspection, request inspection. Not a lot of information. And notice that on this site, I didn't have to click contact us. And you might think, what's the big deal? Well, it is one more click. You just try to eliminate all the barriers. Now, notice that these social icons are not on the right, they're on the left. I don't like them on the right. I think it just clouds it. I think people expect to see the phone number here on the right. And then here's an example of live chat. So some people really like live chat. Is that kind of the top of the funnel thing? So there it is. Now, this image, it's a happy family. I really believe that people will trust a website when they see an image of a person first. And then secondly, we look for an image of something. And then third, because our brains can be lazy sometimes and we like to conserve energy, probably the last thing that we want to see immediately is like a bunch of letters in a bunch of small font. So our brains want to process something quick. So here we have an image of a happy family, and it looks like they're in a basement. It's like, yep, okay, I'm on the right site. This company happens to be very well branded in their space, so this would be easily recognizable. All right, here's one more example. Big call to action, phone number on top. No mistake about that. Again, web form here. Social icons on the left, again, the web form up here, and this truck with a video. So the truck kind of says, and it's branded, it's kind of says we're not, a chuck and a truck kind of a company. We're a bigger company and we do bigger jobs. This fits their market well. On our website, Rainmaker for Contractors, if you go to resources, we have several free downloads. There's one that's called Website Conversion Factors for Contractors, and it covers a lot of the items that I'm talking about in today's training. So feel free to grab that. It's kind of a cheat sheet, and it's going to hit a lot of the big topics that are important. So again, if you could see through the customer's eyes, you're going to be a lot more effective than you could sell what they buy. So really try to think through how your customer sees you, what their fears and pains are, and so on. I'm guessing many of you have at one time walked through this exercise of trying to identify your avatar. Who's your avatar? That's your ideal customer that you're really trying to speak to, that you're trying to target. In this exercise, you're often encouraged to, once you identify who that person is and all the different factors about them, is to name that person. So internally, you can talk and refer to whoever that is. It's Lisa. We're targeting Lisa. What are their pains, fears, goals, and dreams? And this is a really good exercise for sales reps. And you might think, oh, this is so basic. It's actually really good to have your reps spend time in this area to really try to think and especially feel what a homeowner might be feeling in relation to having water in their basement and things being damaged or health concerns, or property value loss, and so on. So here are some common answers to those questions. They're a homeowner, typically a homeowner, we say 35 years or older, depends on your market. Uh, Houses are expensive, usually younger people, like in their 20s, it can be challenging to own a home. Um, Typically, I think the female is kind of driving the fix and oftentimes the decision maker, usually married with kids, maybe they have a couple kids. Um, Household income 65,000 or more. You kind of need that to own a home these days. Family oriented, reliable, meaning they take care of their house. It's not, boarded up. The grass hasn't been cut in 2 months. Um, Easily frustrated. I'm super annoyed that my basement is leaking. This needs to be fixed. It's an ideal customer. Well, not handy. You're not really looking for Mr. Do-it-yourself, or sometimes we all know in the business we sell these things, these people. And sometimes they tried to fix it 3 or 4 different times and they're trying to save money and they're either bored or think they're handy or whatever. And we know basement waterproofing is tricky. So there's some demographics, some pains and frustrations. There is a whole variety of reasons why people buy, right? I tend to think that people make decisions with emotions and then they tend to justify it with logic, but they're just sick and tired of the foundation not holding up. Um, they're they don't know the best way to fix it. Every company comes in with like our system is the best and all that stuff. Certainly there are concerns with health issues. In today's world, most people are educated on some aspect of mold and how it affects people. There's things like I'm sick and tired of not being able to go on vacation. Like I could deal with this problem if I'm here all the time, but sometimes I'm at work and we get heavy rain or we're on vacation and I don't want to have to worry about it. Where mentally I'm at home worrying about my house, maybe calling my neighbors. But I'm in Florida vacationing or something. That's too stressful. So I need to get this fixed. To really try to think through their pains and frustrations, their fears. Gosh, I'm afraid that these contractors are going to rip me off, or they have a great sales presentation, but they do crappy work, right? I don't want to pay too much. I don't want sloppy workmanship. Um, I'll share a personal story. We had some like a sewer backup scenario a couple months ago. So called the insurance company. It's considered dwelling, so it's covered 100%. Um, so there's a restoration company that the insurance company recommended. I'm like, fine, I go with them. Interestingly enough, they were a just a local company that did well, but they were purchased by a private equity company. And so, they're huge, like way bigger than I've even heard of any home improvement company. Had just had such a negative experience with them. I was told that had carpet samples in 2 days, and it literally took them a month to get carpet samples out to us, and they were the wrong kind. Like it just had one request since we have dogs in our basement, in our house. But when the dogs can run around, which annoys me, and you have looped carpeting, they can wreck the carpeting. So I'm like, hey, with these samples, one thing, can't be looped carpeting, okay? So like it took them a month to get us samples, and then of course they send us like looped carpeting samples. So I had to fire that company, got a new company. So those kind of fears, like bad communication, big sales promise, really reassuring in the sales process, but just not following through. Those are fears. So the more that you can communicate and prove to these people that you're not that kind of a company, the more that you're going to settle their fears. Goals and desires. I want a basement that's never going to leak again. I want my house to be usable. My kids to play down there. I might have an office down there. I might want to work out down there. I don't want to be breathing unhealthy air. I want to travel with peace of mind. I want a well-kept home when we sell it. I don't want to have to like knock out thousands and thousands of dollars and have to deal with that. That's what my goal and desire is. All right, so some messaging that works as far as website conversion and building trust. Like, what is your messaging? Unbeatable lifetime warranties. Of course, you can't say for the second one 40 years unless it is, but I've learned that this little one thing here is a high converting factor. The longer you've been in business, the better it looks. So lean into that if you're an older company for sure. Easy and affordable financing. Half of the deals that we took in when I owned my company were financing. You definitely want to offer financing. Trustworthy and experienced team. That's a really big factor. The reason why a lot of companies are successful is because they have high quality production workers that are really experienced and they know what they're doing and they can do quality work versus having to hire and fire people all the time. Those people, they might have great training programs, but in waterproofing, you come across really unique situations, and only the really experienced pros can address all those issues. And then communicate that you are local and you've been serving that area for however long that you are. Really try to create that local presence. So then, speaking to your avatar that we just covered, an elite local basin waterproofing company serving. So this towards the top of your website, I found really helpful because they just want to make sure, like, one, am I in the waterproofing side? And two, is this a local company? Like, try to get that, like our brains, the neurotransmitters are just firing really fast. And so we're kind of checking that off, like almost subconsciously, but try to address that like right away. Best industry warranties, experience, licensed, insured, professionals, affordable, no money down, zero interest, easy, affordable. These are all just really good, high quality lines that help convert web visitors into leads. All right, being real and authentic. I like this picture because not everyone is in like this perfect uniform. It really kind of shows like, hey, here's who we are, but it also communicates you're dealing with a large company. All right, we've all been in a grocery store and you walk through the second door and you see the stand and it's got a picture of the general manager and they're always in a suit. And then there's always like this 3 or 4 sentences in quotes as if he's saying that to you when you walk in the door. We blah, blah, blah. And it basically says like, we love our customers and we're going to provide great customer service and outstanding products, all that kind of stuff. What is that and why is that there? And how might you lean into that? It puts a face behind a large company. Who's ultimately responsible? Is it this huge corporation that there's no way to even know how to contact somebody if there's an issue? Or is there a general manager or owner saying like, I'm the guy, I'm responsible, I'm going to make sure that your experience here is outstanding. And here's my name, and here's how to get in touch with me. Who do you trust more? The big company or the person saying like, I'm the guy, I'm responsible? So lean into that. It's your advantage as a waterproofing company, foundation repair company, to sort of undermine kind of like the larger companies that might be moving into our space to say like, hey, here's who I am. So use real authentic images, show up, be that person, stand in the gap, and let yourself be known. Leverage video. I do like a kind of like a welcome video, like here's who I am, here's who we are. We've had guests on our podcast and they put that podcast on their website. And the feedback that they've gotten from some of the sales that they've gotten is they said, hey, we picked with you because I watched that podcast and I listened to you and I listened to how you manage your company, how you manage your employees. And I was really impressed. It really gave me an opportunity to get to know who you were. And that was all because of a video. But you could literally have a short video on every one of your services, every website should have their services listed and then a page dedicated to each service. And you could put a brief video on each service that you offer. All right, the library social proof. You have reviews out there, whether you like it or not, they're probably listed further than what you're even aware of. I like to pull the ones that are going to highlight our clients the best. This example, I pull 3 of them, Google, Angie, and BBB, and just make it easy for them to find. So right away, our brains subconsciously are firing through these things. Is this a waterproofing site? Is this in my area? Okay, great. They have really good reviews. It looks like I see images of the people and so on. Okay, you want to keep them on your website and in the funnel and using that call to action. Again, this is the fundamentals, right? Get that the web form, make it easy to find. Don't play hide and seek with how to get in touch with you. This shouts credibility. This is the bigger company. If you're wanting to feel safer with the bigger company, this is a live chat. Notice the live chat has a picture of a person. Subconsciously, we're like, cool, she seems safe to talk to. I'll talk to her. So that's going to get people to engage into that live chat with that little image there. So there's a stat that says adding live chat can increase lead conversions by 20%. That's really high. It's going to vary from industry to industry, but hey, if you could increase it just a little bit, if you can get just even a few more, like who wouldn't want a few more leads? Live chat is like either free or very inexpensive. Certainly just a fraction of one lead. And if you were able to get even 2 or 3 more leads per month, it'd be more than worth it. Gosh, make sure your website is mobile friendly. At least half of your web traffic is coming from mobile. We've seen it up to 75% of web traffic coming from mobile. Boy, you sure want to eliminate any kind of barriers for them to be reaching out to you. One of the things that I like is this little green button. Our websites are on WordPress, and there is a WordPress plugin that you could put in that will add this bar on the bottom. And green means go in our world, and it's got a picture of the phone there and a call, which is a call to action. They can hit that, the number shows up, and then it can go through. Now, I've dealt with some people and they'll say like, oh, click to call is on our website. I'm like, well, how do I get it? It's like, well, you have to press down on the number. It's like, well, how would I know that? There's no call to action there. It's like, well, it's there. It's okay, it's there, but like, make it simple. Like, treat everyone when they're coming to your website like they're 3rd graders, and just like, don't let them try to read your mind, or it's easy for you. Like, try to speak to everybody and keep it super simple. So you can see a bunch of stats here that really encourage having a super friendly mobile website. This is a big one. Following a poor user experience, up to 89% of the people have switched to a competitor website. I mean, I've done it many, many times. I'm on a website, I'm like, this is crap. Like, why would I want to deal with a company like this? If they're not paying attention to the details on their website, what are they going to do when they're trying to help me? I can't, it's hard to believe that somehow the back end really has their act together when the front end has like a sloppy website and it doesn't work well. I mentioned this click to call feature on the bottom here. All right, here's web speed. So this is, we really, really value web speed in our company. I have not seen any company make websites faster. We put all of our clients on Google servers and with a hosting company that is like extremely great in so many ways. But anyway, it came to us with this. It's pretty rare, actually, even in the many, many interactions I've had with prospects. It's pretty rare to get a desktop at 91%. In this example, we converted it to 100, but I'd be, 91 is great. I'm thrilled with that. I'm not trying to, someone's coming 91, that's awesome. The one that is always 100% lower as far as speed goes is the mobile version. And so this one was at 32 and we made it to 91 out of 100. Now I was speaking at a conference a few months back, and I mentioned this free tool that Google offers. Just type in Google Page Speed Insights, It's a free tool. You just put any URL in and hit a button and you'll get a screen that looks similar to this, and it will tell you how fast it's loading, both desktop and mobile. You can toggle between each one and it will tell you. And this is time. Now, here's what we did to the mobile. It was taking 7.2 seconds to fully load, and we reduced that to 2.3 seconds. Significant conversion. I mean, right away, you're going to see an improvement in the number of leads coming in. So key ideas here as we're coming towards a close. Use authentic team photos on site, add video, create videos for each service, showcase your reviews, keep getting reviews because they continue to be so important. Make sure the basics are in place. Again, take advantage of that free resource we have on a resource page called Website Conversions, and run that speed test to see how fast your website is loading or not loading. Some more is your phone number on the top right. Are you using a web form that's easy to find? Do you have these authoritative symbols? I would encourage you to collect these symbols as you go out in life. As you look at competitor sites, like how did they get that? How do they get that? Can I get that on my website? What does it take? Maybe it's like a $200 a year payment that makes you belong to some credible association. Maybe it's as simple as that, something to look into. Add live chat, offer online booking, and really think about your website as like the hub, and it collects all these visitors, and you want to get those phone calls or web forms. So I always think implementing it immediately is going to be your fastest path to success. It's cool to learn these things, but it's great to take action. So what can you implement that's going to impact your business right away? Can you write 3 things down right now that you're like, okay, that was a cool idea. That was good. That was good. And then write those down and then plan on how you're going to take action to those. One item on helping people take action is to put something on your calendar, schedule it. If you're like really busy right now and you're just like, oh, I just got to get going, put something on your calendar to say like, later on today or tomorrow, I'm going to take a half an hour and I'm going to map out and then take action on how I'm going to implement these into my business. That's the best way you're going to have success. You got to, implement. Version 1 is better than version none. So if you would like a custom video of me critiquing your website and how you can improve conversions, please contact us if you're watching the video. And if you're live here, you could put something in the chat and we will make a video for you and I'll send it to you, and hopefully you'll get some tips on how to improve conversions. We also offer like a total online analysis. We look at everything about your website and your online presence and how to improve it and how to get more leads. That is free and of no charge to you. We'd love to help you out with that and explain how you can get more leads online. And this is how you reach us. Our website is Rainmaker for Contractors, and you can fill out a web form. You can even book online, just like I mentioned the webinar, and set up a 10 to 15 minute call with me to start and kind of see where it goes and goes from there. All right. Hey, thanks so much for joining this training. I hope you got a lot out of it. And if we're here to help, let us know if we can help. Take care.